Hi everybody, welcome to my studio. Today we're going to do one of my favorite things. We're going to build up our mixed media art journal stash. And we are going to make these amazing masterboards. Well, masterboards aren't new, you might say. No, masterboards aren't new. But these aren't on paper. These are on full sheet shipping labels. Self-adhesive papers. That's going to allow us to take these masterboards and use them a little bit differently, because all we have to do is peel and stick. I'm going to be making videos showing you how I use these in my art journaling and mixed media projects. So you're going to want to click on the bell and make sure that you've selected the option to be notified of upcoming videos. That way you're not going to miss any. In this video, I'm going to give you the tips and tricks that I've learned to be successful building masterboards on these adhesive papers. I'll give you color schemes that you might want to try, and I'm using some real workhorses in my studio, stamps and stencils, that if you're looking for some good staples, you might want to look into that. Links to as many of the products that I use, I will link to in the description box below, so you might want to click on the more and check that out. But right now, let's get started. So the full sheet shipping labels that I use, I order from Amazon, and they work like a dream. The ones from Dollar Store, Dollar Tree, the adhesive doesn't stand up and the paper isn't quite the same quality as the ones that I'm linking to. In the States, they're about $13 for the 100, and in Canada, they are, I think, about $17. If you think this is too much, think about all the sentiments you can print out on these labels and peel and stick, just like those unnamed sentiment stickers. So what you're going to need to make a masterboard is some stencils, a variety of stencils and a variety of stamps. Dig out those things that you have in your stash and let's use them in the creation of these masterboards. You'll also need an assortment of acrylic colors. I'm using medium body acrylic paints. They're a little drier than the craft paints. You need some makeup sponges, and or the Ranger blending foams. So the reason I'm using the acrylic paint, the medium bodied, is I want to try to keep this as dry as possible. I don't want to oversaturate the paper. Now at no time did the paper here pill or lift off the adhesive at all. And that's what you want to do. So here I'm using burnt sienna, Naples yellow, and Prussian blue, and I'm just blending it on the page as quickly as I can. I'm going quickly because this is raw paper and there's no gesso, and I don't want to add gesso because I don't want more layers. I'm moving fairly quickly and it's absorbing a little bit into the paper. So you're just getting a base coat down. If you stick to colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, remember you're not going to make mud. If you're not sure, test those colors out. Mix them on the side and see if you're getting a color that looks good. Now this is one of TCW's newer stencils. It is called Rainbow Montage. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting white gesso through the stencil with the makeup sponge. This is going to lighten underneath and give a good base for anything else that we're going to put on there. This is one of my favorite tricks when making a masterboard, whether it's on sticker paper or otherwise. Some places I've got it a little bit more opaque. Some is a little more translucent, and I like the effect that this gives. Now don't worry, I'm going to do more of these and I'm going to mix it up as we go through the creation of the 6 masterboards that I do create. So once I've got that base, And that stencil, I usually pick something with a little bit wider openings. Now this stamp is from a stamp set from Stamperia called Sacred Geometry, and I'll be using another stamp from that set later on. And I love this. I'm using black archival paint because I want this to be permanent. I don't want to have to worry that something's going to reactivate later on when I'm using something from my stash on an art journal page. This one is another workhorse in my world. It's from Stamperia and it's a words stamp. And it's just putting some visual texture and pattern onto this masterboard. Now remember, a masterboard, you're going to cut it apart and use it in different projects. So you can't really look at this as you're going to use this whole sheet at one time. I like to turn the masterboard and stamp. This butterfly stamp is from Papillon. It is a Stampers Anonymous set, and I'll be using more stamps from that set as well. Now, before you decide to stamp out or punch out any of these, you want to make sure that this dries completely. Remember, there's a lot of moisture in, and because the backing is on, it can't dry from both sides, so it's going to take a bit of time. I splattered it with gold. Don't worry, we're coming back to this one. Then I had the idea of making a rainbow of colors. So I have bright yellow, orange, quinacridone magenta, deep violet, and turquoise. I'm blending a little bit between the colors, and I'm adding a little bit more paint than I did in the previous one. With each sample, I'm trying different things, testing the water. And like I said, at no time did this paper from the sticker paper pill or come up. Now, if you're going to use a heat tool, you want to keep it far away. I ended up just leaving it and letting it dry. I didn't want to damage the adhesive in any way, shape, or form, so I just gave it time, which is hard for us. This stencil is called XTrail, and I'm again adding it with the white gesso. Now, I like white gesso. It's a little bit less opaque than the white acrylic paint, but you could use the white acrylic paint and get a similar effect. Love this stencil. I think this is the first time I've used this stencil. This stamp is called Club, Heart, and Company, I believe. It's another Stamperia one. Most of these stamps, and as well a wide variety of TCW stencils, can be available at Ninny's Napkins. There's a coupon code and a link in the description box. That was a honeycomb stencil that I bought. Now I decided that if the goal is to get paint on here without wetting the paper, the brayer might be working. My camera did not like the white sheets and it gets out of focus at times. So I'm just brayering on, in this case, orange and quinacridone magenta. I'm putting a little bit on my glass tabletop. My whole tabletop's glass, so it's a wonderful work surface. And I'm going top to bottom, left to right. I'm keeping it straight. Now, once I have a base color, if you take white gesso or white acrylic paint, you just kind of knock that back. And remember those first two masterboards? When I added the stenciling with the white, that's basically what I'm doing here. I'm just knocking this back, so if I do more stenciling or stamping, it's going to show maybe a little bit more. It's just softening this background. By the way, I loved using the brayer. This one is TCW's Garden Tile. And I'm using Quinacridone Magenta, and here I've switched it up and I'm using the Ranger blending foam. I love applying these, using these to apply with. Love the soft look of this. Debated about doing this in white at a different angle. and instead grabbed that XTrail stencil and added some of that motif to the page. There was the X in the middle of the garden tile one, and now we have the X on the XTrail. So they kind of read well and play well together. I am absolutely loving the soft background masterboard that we've created here. Now I've kept the video in the order that I actually did it. And as I progressed, I found I got more creative and more adventuresome. And that's usually what happens when I do a build your stash session. This is Darkroom Door Elegant Script. And I'm stamping again with black archival ink. And that's just adding a very fine script pattern to the background. Now I'm back to adding this little butterfly from that Papillon set. And I love the contrast, that little bit of black does. I'm not worried about getting perfect stamping here, people. Just enjoy this creative process without worrying about the final product. Now I made 2 of these backgrounds. So on the other one, I decided I'm going to go in a different direction. I grabbed this Damask stencil from the Crafter's Workshop and I'm stenciling with the blending foam and turquoise paint. Now that's going to give some huge amount of contrast. Wasn't sure I was going to like it. I love it. So sometimes doing the unexpected, thinking outside that box, really creates some wonderful, happy accidents. And that's another thing that happens when you do a build your stash session. Then I grab some white gesso, again on that blending foam, and I put that through. Love that look of using the same stencil with 2 different colors. Since I've kind of gone vintage with the stenciling here, I grabbed this Harlequin stamp, and I'll link to a similar Harlequin stamp. It's not this one. This one was a garage sale find. So I added that. And this one is a circle one, again from that Sacred Geometry stamp set. We haven't seen the last of most of these masterboards because we're not done with them yet. We're going to add more layers. This is a slimline stencil from TCW called Punch Card, and it's one of their new ones and loving it. You'll see me use it on many of these masterboards. It adds just the right something something. So I've done 2 masterboards with the identical background. And if I was doing a builder stash, that's what I would do. Do multiple 2 or 3 backgrounds with the same base color and then change it up with the stamping and stenciling and the mark making that you add. Here I've added Naples yellow, which I love with mixing with other colors, and this one was with alizarin crimson. Kind of gives a corally color when you blend them. This stencil is called Scattered Branches. Most of the stencils here are part of the 2021 summer release. And if you can't find them on Amazon, if depending on when you're watching the video, check out the TCW store. And there is a link in the description box. Again, I've used that same stencil, stenciled it with the alizarin crimson, and then with the white. I love the movement that stencil makes. This one's Onion Blossom, not a new one, but definitely a favorite. And I'm putting alizarin crimson through the stencil. And this is giving a very fine pattern to this masterboard. Now remember the masterboard, you want to keep it fairly dry. I'm not going to collage papers on here. I don't think that it would stand up. I'm adding some marks using this stamp from the Papillon set. It's got some script, it's got some letters, just a good combination. And then I'm adding more script or words. Remember, you don't need to read it because this is going to be cut up. And then I chose some bigger butterflies to add to this one. And it's not about that it's a butterfly, it's about that it's going to add pattern and texture. Now I've gone back to my Naples yellow, but this time I'm mixing it with Prussian blue, and together they make a gorgeous teal. And as you can see, when I put the base color on, I'm not too careful. It is far, far, far from perfect or neat. I don't want to stop and overthink it. Sometimes when you stop too long and you're really calculating, oh, what should I do? That stumps your creativity. Back with this TCW punch card stencil, and I've got, I think this was Prussian blue, and I'm targeting the areas that have the Naples yellow on them. Now, as I said earlier, I will be using these masterboards and showing ways to use these sticker masterboards in upcoming videos. This video would just get too long. Here I'm using that word stamp, but I'm braying on white paint and stamping in white because my background here is very dark. So I've done the opposite. Make sure you clean your stamps by spraying with Murphy's oil soap and getting a brush in there and cleaning it out. Now, I did not like this one. I thought it was a good idea. I was wrong. So I brayered white paint on it, knocked back the color, and then I'm going to put some different stenciling on it. This one's quadrifoil reverse, a very old one from Crafter's Workshop, but a definite favorite. And I'm using Prussian blue here. The benefit of you doing a build your stash is I have the paints out, so I only clean up once at the end. I maximize the use of my paints. Here's XTrail, and I'm putting Quinacridone Magenta on that. I'm just having fun. This stencil is called Rows and Lines, and I'm using the Quinacridone Magenta. On this one, because I basically overpainted it, it has lots of layers of paint, and I found that it still took everything. There was no pilling of the material. This one's called Buffalo Plaid, and I just wanted to knock back some of that. This stencil, I didn't think I was going to like as much as I do. I think it's going to get a lot of use. Then I've taken the punch card stencil and I'm stenciling through with black paint just to add a little bit of contrast. It's a very busy background, but you know what? I'm going to have to really think about how to use it. I've already got some ideas. I'm adding this left or right swirl. This is one's from Ninny's Napkins. It's a Stamperia stamp. Wanted to add swirl to this background. And again, I'm using black archival ink. I don't have many colors of archival ink, but black is basic. Now you'll find when these are drying, they're going to kind of curl up. Just roll them like this or rub them against the corner of the table, the edge of the table, and they do straighten up and lay flat. So monitor how wet they get. Avoid putting too much heat or let them dry naturally. And no collaging on there. Here I'm stamping with gold using this sink liner. And here I'm using a bottle cap and stamping circles with the gold paint. And here's what I mean. As the stash builder progresses, I find I just open up my brain and start doing more. So I'm going to revisit most of these master boards and say, oh, now what can I add? Now what can I add? And sometimes, yes, you add too much and you actually go, oh, yuck, I hate this. I liked it before. You can always go and recreate that. It's only a piece of paper. This one I just decided to go simple, and I'm splattering with black paint. And this one, as much as I love this, I thought I'm going to add some black stamping with this circle stamp. It's a pill bottle. Now I already indicated you can use punches to punch out this in all sorts of whatever shapes you have. You can cut strips. You can put it through your silhouette or Cricut or use dies. No matter what you use, you're going to want to make sure this dries completely. Don't rush it. So here are the masterboards that we created in this session. I love the combination here. This would make a lovely Insta background, and the work's already done. This one is so rich and shimmery with all that gold on it, and there's some wonderful texture. And I love how I use the white acrylic paint to stamp with that word stamp from Stamperia. Strange combination of colors with the orange and quinacridone magenta. But there's something about this one. Again, I am just in love with these. Now, I did two of the same kind of backgrounds. This one, I added the circles with gold, and this one I didn't. And they have a very different look. So even if you start with the same basic background, you can always, always, always change it up and end up with two different things. Or make two of the same if you're doing a larger art journal page. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got some close-ups of the completed masterboards. Be sure, again, hit that bell, select the option to be notified of upcoming videos, and you'll be sure not to miss the videos where I'm going to take these sticker paper masterboards and use them to create a variety of different projects. Let me know which masterboard you like the best. Until next time, go build your stash.